Okay, everyone, so I have two incredible guests with me today. I have Pete Katsaros with Guaranteed Rate, okay, regional manager, and I have, of course, we have Michael Della Vella with us. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hello, guys. Good to be here with you.
Doing great. Glad to be here. Kind of really excited to be here. Passionate about being here.
Absolutely.
So this is going to be incredible because I probably can't think of two greater resources in our Cleveland real estate market to really just go over a couple of hot topics overall and really give some good information out there to everyone regarding the market, regarding buyers and how they're feeling coming into 2023. Regarding Mike is an expert on the listing side. He's going to give maybe some realtors out there that are watching this some good information on how they can really get their listings moved in 2023. Because let's face it, we're coming off a pretty unusual market in 2022, right?
Very unusual.
Very unusual.
And now we're kind of moving into really what is a normalized market for 2023, but it's kind of like 2022, how 2022 ended, it's kind of seeping into 2023. And so I have two guys here that are really going to tear this thing apart and really give us some good insight.
And Ray, I got to tell you, I couldn't have a better partner than Michael. I've known Michael, my God,
Gosh.
most of my career. We've done so many things together, true professional. Michael, if I could share a mic with you, I'm glad to do it anytime.
Pete, I mean, we've done this on telephone calls over the years. The national, they were national calls. I'm not.
That's right. We've done
so.
National calls together.
Always fun.
Plus, how many houses did you sell for us? We're just so
That was
grateful.
That was national calls at
Wells Fargo.
At Wells Fargo. Before your time.
Before listen, I'm not like I'm not like 23 here.
Michael's giving the rookie a hard time. Not really a rookie.
Right.
Ray, you actually done a great job. I know you and I have talked how long for years hoping that you would come over one day to Guaranteed Rate, and you did. So
Right, yeah.
We're happy that you're here with us in our team.
Well, I appreciate it. I think it was a good. I didn't know much about the real estate market, right? Most of my career because I was in house for a long time, and now, it was Michael who I moved into the neighborhood, and one of the first people I talked to was Michael, and because I was with Hanna as a loan originator, and I go, Mike, what do you think about these territories, man, that they're putting me in? He's like, man, that's far out there, man, and it was a couple of smaller territories. And he said, you know what, you should really talk to my good friend Pete Katsaros at Guaranteed Rate. And you got to remember, I didn't have I mean, in terms of self-generating real estate production, I didn't really have much under my belt, right? So I wasn't quite ready for Guaranteed Rate right at the first step. But Pete and I hit it off right away.
Oh yeah.
But it took a couple of years.
Let me tell you what Ray did. So I did not know Ray. I was doing an open house, and he came in and he introduced himself. As you know, Peter, we've talked about this forever.
Yes, sir.
He came in and introduced himself that he was in the business, and he hung out for an entire day. For my 3 hours, he hung out with me, and I think he's the only agent that has ever done that in my career.
Loan officer.
Yes, as a loan officer. Came in and hung out with me, and we talked, and he was there to answer questions for people. But that's...
I remember you told me that. You tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, Pete, check out this kid. You got to talk to him. And
Yeah.
I tell you what, Ray's blossomed and has just done a fabulous job for us.
And it's funny because I feel like, that was, right when you start something, you're like all gung-ho, and it's like, man, us loan officers out there, we really maybe should start showing up to some of these
Absolutely.
listings again, right? And I think that's what Mike's going to talk to us about here a little bit is how we can get these listings to move a little bit, and how we can get the buyers or how we can educate the buyers on how right now in the market is a great time.
So Michael, what a segue, right? So it was unheard of in 2022, 2020, 2021 for people to go to open houses. It was unheard of to even hold an open house. It was unheard of for an originator to approach you to ask you to do an open house because the art of the sale wasn't there anymore.
You didn't need to.
You didn't have to. And now, fast forward, here we are today. Now, open house is again an integral part of sales. and that went away.
It has been an integral part of real estate since the dawn of real estate. And I do think that a lot of agents have gotten away from it. Sellers have gotten away from it because there was no need. But it is coming back. The other thing that's coming back that has been gone, brokers' open houses.
Yeah, I haven't seen those
They
in forever.
don't need to do them anymore. And that was a part of introducing your listing to the market.
And they
You
were
would
fun.
You would network
Yeah.
with people in the business.
And that's those are things that we sponsor. I don't think, has anyone sponsored a broker's event?
It's got to come back.
They do now.
And
They're
it's
starting.
It's going to come back. It needs to come back. And all that networking was all part where you knew, because of stuff like that, you would get to meet people in other brokerages, younger agents, older agents, and nowadays you don't even, it was hard. Back then you could put a face to the name. Now it's, you get a text from somebody and I don't know him, I don't know who it is. So we've lost that personal touch that we need back in our industry from everybody.
And if you think about it, what a disservice to the customer, somebody buying a home. Those tools are there and were there for a purpose. The buyers went into a home, you showed them more homes. They took their time. They could see their options. They understood what they wanted. They were better prepared to make an offer. Where everything in the last few years prior to now, rush. How much buyer's remorse is there? I mean, what kind of a service are we providing our customers when we couldn't even show them an open house to see the house and make good decisions?
And that's kind of back now, right?
It's back.
Right?
I think so.
I think one thing that we have to take consideration is there's more options for you as a buyer right now. You can take your time, you can get a home inspection. You can take your time, you can make sure, everything in that, for the most part, right, it is the way that you want it and get yourself, a decent deal. Whereas even last summer, you didn't have, but 1 minute to make your offer right away, and, maybe it'd be $20,000-$30,000 over.
Ray, you couldn't even structure financing the way they wanted because your financing structuring had to be around, will the listing agent, will the realtor accept our offer if we don't structure it the way we want it? We want to structure it the way they want it because it was a tough market and there was a lot of competitive bids out there, right, Michael?
Absolutely. Like anything in business, I really believe that print and news had so much to do with the crazy market, and everybody's saying how the real estate market is so hot, and everybody you would talk to on social media, on any kind of articles you would follow, how the housing market was going crazy and how rates were so good. And now it's, now they're trying to do the opposite of it, and that's just not the case. So I think what people need to do is stop listening to newspapers and media and any kind of negativity and listen to the experts in the industry. That's what we do. That's why we're in this business. We know it. And
how long have you been in the business, Mike?
27 years.
And what about even your family even goes back
Oh,
further than that?
we'll go back with that. Yeah. So, I don't think
there's a better person in the industry right now to give you the total scope here than Michael.
I'm not going to argue with you. Good man.
All right, Pete. I'm gonna lay this one right at your feet. All right, and I know you're tearing at the hip to let it go. So let's talk about the buyer 2023. Give us your thoughts.
So fascinating to me that when you look at a buyer in 2023 and you look at a buyer in 2021, the buyer in 2021 would be willing to pay $100,000 over asking price for a house. People were just throwing money at the house, throwing money at anything just to get into a house, right? There was no waiting. Either you make an offer right this second, it better be your best offer, your final offer, or it's gone. Fast forward, 2023, rates are between 6 and 7%. Very normalized, very typical of what the market kind of generally sits at, 6, 7%. And I would even argue that when you're in the sixes, you're still at a very strong interest rate market. Historically, you are. In these years, somebody would pass on a home not make an offer on a home because they're a couple points higher than what the rates were a couple of years ago, yet they would have paid $100,000 more for the house.
Doesn't even make sense.
Makes no sense to me, right? It's just not logical.
Even 30 or 40,000.
100%.
I mean, I know we were at 3.8 last year, but if you're getting the house, instead of getting it at 310, you get it at 270, right? I mean, that 40,000 makes every bit of difference, for.
And how long does it take to accumulate that kind of equity back into the house?
Right now,
Overpayment.
not long.
Correct. That's correct.
I mean, I think that is something huge currently is that we are still an appreciating market for the most part. So you can still feel comfortable in your investment into real estate right now, right?
I agree. Last year was so crazy preparing offers. You would have a house, if you're running a buyer, you have a house that they would put on Monday, and before you even had showings, it would say that offers are due by Sunday at 5 o'clock. Seller will make a decision Monday morning by noon. And what was happening was, again, of a fallout because of COVID, is if you could not overlap on showings, and they would do showings every 15 minutes, there were a lot of people that never even got their clients into a home. And what was happening is people would inundate the list agent and the seller with offers after the first day, so it never got till Sunday. They would just say, you know what, we already have 6-7 offers.
Highest and best.
Either they would go highest and best, or the seller was done because they've been out of their house.
Appraisal gap or
right.
cash.
Appraisal gaps,
Or
no
cash.
inspections. So I mean, in my opinion, you're not going to see that. I think houses that are priced correctly today will still sell rather quickly. I don't think you're going to see a lot of multiples, and I think things should go at ask or 98% of ask, but the 10-20% over ask, I don't know that you're going to see that. And I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but
let's talk about all the way that financing these deals is bad, that it wasn't there last year for the buyer.
So there's the old adage, and I think this year, this year and going forward in a normalized market, it applies. It said, you marry the house and you date the mortgage. That's kind of the old adage. Marry the house, date the mortgage. Mortgage someday you can refinance out of, the house is yours. Today, just think of the benefits. Today, you could take your time when researching a house. You can actually go and look at the house and be much more civilized. You go to showings, there's open houses now where there weren't before. You can actually have a home inspection on a house. You can actually consider better financing options. You might not feel compelled to say, I got to pull every last bit of savings out of my account to put as a down payment because I hope that the real estate agent's going to accept my offer because 25 other offers in there. Right. And you can choose different financing types. Before, Michael, you'll attest to this, right? If you were a buyer in the market 2 years ago and you wanted to try to go FHA, VA, or anything other than cash or a conventional high down payment, you weren't even entertaining those offers.
I agree 100%. And I was on both sides of that. So I get it. Buy and sell. That you may have a great buyer, but they were FHA rather than, they'd lose out to conventional or cash. And cash pretty much wiped out.
And was there even such a thing as seller concessions last year?
Absolutely not. Not at least not in my world.
Right.
Not in my world.
And now those are almost in every deal right now.
I think so.
I mean, pretty darn close.
I think so.
You get 3% on a conventional seller concessions, 6% on a government FHA or VA. But I would say in the deals that we have done so far, December into now, I mean, I think every one of them had concessions on.
That's exactly right. And the market took away all those luxuries from the buyer. They had to do it. It was a highly stressful offer, right? You had to hurry up, get it done. You had to structure it in a way that you felt that the listing agent and the realtor were going to accept that offer. You couldn't do the things that you probably would do today 2 years ago. So it's a great time to buy a house. And if you're selling your home, you have the benefit of a market that's still strong. You're going to get the value of your house. You're going to have the benefits of the last couple of years of appreciation in the house today. Today more than ever makes sense for somebody to jump into the market.
If I was ready to sell
Here you go.
my house today, if I was ready to sell my house today,
What would be your plan? Seller out there right now, one-on-one meeting, you and the seller go.
well, the first thing I do is, and again, I would take an evaluation of my house like I do with anybody that I list their house, an evaluation of their house, and I would give them a checklist. If it were me and you're trying to maximize top dollar, I would make sure that my walls were all in great shape, my paint colors were up to date, my carpet was either new or close to new. At the very least, clean the carpet. I would make sure I decluttered every single part of the house, updated anything that needed to be updated, and put it on the market. So, but now there is very little competition. So it's supply and demand never goes away. There's still buyers looking for something, and I can attest that they're out there, but what they're thinking is, we want to see what else is coming on the
They're
market.
kind of just looking.
And there's not a lot coming in the market. I mean, I have a big office that everyone will talk about what's in the pipeline. There's not a lot.
Where's your office at, Mike?
I am in Howard Hanna, Crocker Road in Westlake.
I would say that's a big office.
It's a huge office, but there's not a ton in the pipeline with all these agents. Well, we're thinking of selling, but where are we going to go? That's been a problem. But if you're going to sell and you're a seller, you are going to get top dollar if you follow those follow those criteria. The other thing you got to do is price your home correctly. Because your neighbor got 30% over market value doesn't mean you're going to get that today. That it was an anomaly that I don't know that's still there.
But they should be happy their neighbor got 30% over market value
Because
the day they got it, because they're benefiting from that as well.
Well, they're comp.
Absolutely.
They're going to get when
They've got a comp.
There'll be a comp there.
So that's what I would do. If you're a seller, don't wait there's no spring market anymore. The market is,
Are you sure that's what we're all waiting here for?
there's no spring
Mike.
market. The market is now.
We're all via Pete over here. We're like we're in January. I'm like, is it March?
There's no
Is it
spring
March
market.
yet? We're trying to get there.
The best time to sell your house is today, now, where there's no competition. My house would be on the market February 1 if I was
so that makes sense.
selling.
Well, yeah. I mean, and if it
Why
does
would you wait?
sit-
What's the benefit
right,
in
and
waiting?
And if it does
Me?
sit and spring
Oh,
market
because
does
I
happen, it'll be
have
there.
a kid in college that I don't know where he's going to go.
There's no benefit in waiting.
But I'm not ready to sell.
Right.
I'm
But
not
if you
ready.
were
I
going
love
to
my
sell, there
house.
really is no benefit. Either you're
Zero.
gonna-
Zero.
Well, you kind of are Westlake. Like
Yeah,
I don't know
I am.
what Westlake would do without you.
Exactly. But I'm not going anywhere. I am.
You're not going to
Westlake.
Florida. Like
No.
you're not.
No. I bleed demon pride, baby.
I mean, I'm just thinking of what I have seen so far, and I feel like the amount of pre-approvals I have done, it's a lot. You would think that there's a ton of business, but I feel like we pre-approve great buyers. They're ready to go, and then it's just like nothing's really happening right now. Why?
So it's patience. I mean, again, we've been through how many of these ups and downs, Michael? At least three strong ones where the market's fallen out and come back, fallen out and come back. I wouldn't even say it's fallen out. It's down. But the consensus from what I read, Fannie, Freddie, I think they're predicting that 2024 is going to be a really robust year. And then rolling into 2024 is where I think as the spring market comes, you're going to see it get better and better and better. The market's going to go open up. You have people, again, I can speak personally from my own family. I have my children who are in their 30s, and I hate to say that, who don't even own a home yet.
Crazy.
Right.
And no one's excited, no one's thrilled yet to get it home, but they're all getting to the point now where they're chomping at that bit, and you got a whole generation of people coming up that are waiting to get into a home that haven't.
Don't get discouraged and redo your lease for another year, right?
That's right.
I mean, what are the benefits to buying compared to extending your lease?
Why would you not buy instead of have rent, right? You have ownership, you have appreciation, your values go up, you have a tangible asset, your money's going into principal. When you rent, it's going nowhere. So Michael, I don't know if this is trade secrets or not, and I don't know, we give this to everybody or not, but one of the things that I noticed that a lot of the realtors aren't creative. Everyone's quick to cut the price of the house, right? So if your house isn't moving, 40 days later, let's drop it 20 grand, let's drop it 30 grand. when instead they should be getting with their originator and saying, hey, listen, what can we do here to make this house more marketable? Well, we know people buy for payment, right? The number one thing you can do is work with add closing costs and points and say, listen, we'll offer you a rate of X on the house because we'll pay 10, 15,000 in points to bring the interest rate down to make the payment much more affordable, or we'll do a 2-1 buy down. So when a buyer comes into your home, they're gonna get that home, but they're gonna get that home at the payment that they want and be blown away rather than taking the house and cutting it by 30, 40 grand, because it almost looks like you failed, right? But if you can just get sales concessions for the borrower right out the gate and market it that way and say, I can market this house at a 5.99 rate because we're gonna pay 3 points.
See, Pete, that's old school. That's knowing and navigating.
Or that's normal, maybe.
You have to know what you're doing. You have to be good at your craft.
I don't know that a lot of agents today would know to do something like that.
A lot of agents today weren't.
And a lot of it is, does anyone have a relationship with a lender? I mean, that's a huge part of it. That we could talk about it. I could talk about that with you. And we know that that's an option. Hasn't been for years, but like you said, if it's 10 to 15 grand, if you have to lower and you're going to get full price rather than lower the house 25 grand.
All day and twice on Sunday.
It's a no-brainer.
With more success.
And it's a win-win for both parties.
Right. And is there a stigma when you start dropping the rate, talking the price on a house?
Well, it is. Today it is. I mean, people are.
Because I'm seeing them. I'm seeing them on Facebook.
They're coming down, and people are waiting for them. And a lot of feedback that I'm getting is like, we're just going to watch and see if the price comes down. Well, what happened with making an offer? That was back, it's only 2+ years ago. People weren't afraid to make an offer. Now, because they're used to going over ask, nobody's making an offer. And I don't know if we're not educating the buyer to say, let's make an offer and see what the buyer will do. And that's where at that point you could come back and say, here, let's buy the rate down rather than drop the price, and it's the same commitment.
Let's buy the rate down.
Let's the rate down,
and when I clear and have the seller pay it.
Have the seller pay it.
Seller pay, bringing the rate.
Because in the end, when somebody's making a financial decision whether to buy a house or not, they're determining whether they can afford the payment or not. That's their buy decision. Right. Can I afford the payment? Regardless of what the house is going for, can I make that payment? And if that payment, we can get that payment in the range that's comfortable for the consumer, for the customer, then you have a home run.
Yeah, it's almost a lost art, but I mean, there were so many deals that have went that way that I structured that way. So you're gonna see it. I guarantee you're gonna see it.
Is cash still out there, Mike?
It is. As a matter of fact, 3 buyers that I've been running around from out of town are all cash buyers. So cash is still out there.
But I think the mortgage financing has come back.
Oh yeah, and I think the different programs are coming back. I think again, cash is king. Cash was very important, and it's still important. But I think the way people are approved today, why you would choose cash over a well-qualified buyer if it's a better
Especially
deal for the listing agent, yeah, it makes no sense.
How fast we close a loan?
We could close loans in 2 weeks.
Was it shocking to you guys if you think about, let's just take last year, and I know you've heard this, the amount of cash buyers that were in the market, and where did they come from?
Well, yeah, we didn't like it.
But I've never seen anything like it.
It was crazy. And I would say it's the emotional decision for people to choose those offers over some better offers that were finance offers made no sense to me.
It didn't. It's just
at all.
There was no problem with appraisal, so why would it? In the end, it's all cash.
Cut out the appraisal
right
on a cash deal. So let's hit on some trends. All right, some of the biggest trends we see for the market this year, 2023, and I'm going to open up to the 2 guys with the most experience here, left and right of me, Pete and Mike. Mike, I'm going to start with you. What are the biggest trends we're this year?
This is just my opinion, but I think the number one thing you're going to see is inspections are back, which they were not a thing. People waived the inspection, and they should be part of every deal. But you will see buyers doing inspections. I also think you're going to see sellers doing pre-inspections to make sure they're that anything that could come up with their house, and that's just something that I always.
And that report would be readily available.
Absolutely. The other thing that I see as a trend is I think appraisal gaps are a thing of the past. I don't think you're going to see a lot of that. Peter?
I agree. I just think that was just an anomaly in those couple of years when the market was just so harsh and just so tough. Everything was moving so quickly. People were just moving so fast. They were willing to give their right arm for a house blindly. It was kind of shocking to me, Michael.
So when, maybe I would write an offer that was better than everybody else's, and they would come to me and say, is your buyer willing to write a $25,000 appraisal gap? And
Never heard of such a thing before, right?
Yeah, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. If it.
So they would be a 20% down buyer plus.
No contingencies. I always would, at least inspection for informational purposes. Right. But the buyer could walk away had they found something to a certain extent wrong with the home. But they come back and say, you got to write a $25,000 appraisal gap, and we wouldn't do it, and we wouldn't get the offer. I think that's gone. So I think you're not going to see that. What else
Michael, I would agree. In fact, I kind of chuckle when I think about it. Just think, somebody has an appraisal gap call, and it's $50,000. That same person would not buy a house today because interest rates are 2% higher than they were back in their lowest. Correct.
And I will tell you that appraisal gap did come into play on a lot of people I know. It was a thing.
Had to.
And I've had sellers that the appraisal gap, I'm like, well, you signed an appraisal gap. So it did come into play.
Necessary evil.
Yep.
Well, it was good. At least the appraisers were still taking doing their due diligence and not just giving those prices.
Absolutely.
Right? Thankfully, the appraisers had a real hard job.
Yep.
Last year, and they were feeling the pressure too. But those appraisal gaps existed because they were unrealistic offers, which hopefully this year you get a much more realistic offer.
The other trend I see happening is, again, I think you're going to see the return of FHA loans becoming prevalent and VA loans being a thing again. That not having a stigma to them because everybody was taking cash offers, and I think that's going to be.
Michael, I would agree. I think there was an underutilization of a lot of the different programs available. I think our customers felt compelled to put as much down as they possibly could to try to please the listing agent to make sure that their offer got taken first. And I think we have just such great programs out there available to make it easier for somebody to buy a home.
Absolutely.
I think people will be taking better advantage of that today, and more of those 100%. Offers get accepted
100%.
Because they're great programs. And when somebody's qualified, they're qualified, period. I never understood the concept where if you had a qualified buyer who's a veteran, who uses VA, which is a great program, and a program to help our veterans, well-deserved, how somebody could say that program and that customer should be not accepted over a cash offer, especially if their offer is better.
Well,
right? That's just the way it is.
It's going to come back, and I think it's going to be a strong part of the market.
That's right.
Is both of those.
That's right.
Also, I think we touched on it earlier. The way deals are structured, I think you will see some. I'm trying to think, for lack of a better word, some ways to put deals together, whether it's seller buying down points for the buyer, but you will see more of that in 2023.
And Michael, how many of those did you see in those previous 2 years?
Zero. None.
You'd be laughed right out of there, right?
Absolutely.
And that goes back to your relationship with the lender.
And again, I think that people will have a closer relationship with their lender and make sure that they educate themselves on anything out there that
Realtor and buyer.
Help your buyer, help your seller. And again, you know, but last year it was, here you go, I got a pre-approval, or I got a cash proof of funds, done. None of that was out there, but that's back.
That's exactly right.
That's back.
And I just think all the programs out there available to so many people, I think people can now take advantage of them again. And I think it's important. I mean, I just think you make that buying experience really great for every customer that you have.
I agree with you guys. I agree. May the market be with you too.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys.
That was fun.